Hi, and welcome to the webinar. We're going to look at enhancing your one-to-one B2B sales relationships today. We all know B2B buying behaviours are changing and at a faster pace more recently. And for the next 20 to 25 minutes, we're going to try and dig into this. All participants have been muted to limit background noise. If you have any questions or comments during the webinar, please use the chat or the Q&A function on Zoom. And then we'll go through these at the end. I'm James Tait, one of the partner managers for Ibexa, and I'm based in the UK. My focus is on unified content and commerce projects to integrate ERP systems with front-end buyers. And I'd like to welcome Jan.
Hi everyone. Thanks, James. You've just stolen my my introduction as well. That often happens. I'm the MD of Bluetel. We're a tech agency and a system integrator. We've been Ibexa partners since 2011, and so I've had a bit of experience in sort of combining ERP, CRMs, systems with the Ibexa platform, ultimately to basically create great user experiences.
Great, thanks very much, Jan. So we'll start off with a look at what is digital transformation anyway. So we use concepts like engagement and personalization to emulate real-world seller and buyer relationships of trust, brand, service, and quality, but in the digital world. In our personal transactions, many of us choose the convenience and lower price with the same quality of online suppliers, but also buyers and businesses want the same thing. But probably value a longer-term relationship and the accountability that brings to support their repeat purchases. So how do B2B buyers decide where to place orders and choose new suppliers? So according to research by Forrester, 68% of B2B buyers prefer to research independently online. And business-to-business companies are, for the large majority, still selling in a traditional way, with sales teams on the ground, dealing with long sales cycles and negotiations. This way of selling is no longer matches the expectations and new behaviours of these buyers, who tend to shop around, favouring smooth digital experiences and limiting their interactions with sales teams. How can businesses adapt to this digital selling shift and reinvent the way that they sell? Shopping around may exaggerate reality, as it would undermine the importance of the relationship and trust between a business and its clients. Yet there's a definite trend of B2B buyers moving to online web stores and marketplaces. They're progressively adopting all of these channels and favouring a frictionless buying experience. This also means that their relationship with salespeople has changed. So late in the process of digitalisation of their customer-facing activities, companies must remain relevant in a disrupted environment and urgently find new ways of selling while adapting to the new B2B buyer behaviour. More than 70% of B2B buyers fully define their needs before engaging with a sales representative, and almost half identify specific solutions before reaching out, according to a report from CSO Insights. And today, we are seeing only 23% of B2B buyers that prefer to deal with vendor salespeople in sales processes. So how have B2B sales changed during lockdown? We've seen many organizations grasp the nettle and complete digital transformation projects in a few days or weeks that they've been putting off for years. We're all now in the game of digital transformation, whether we like it or not. According to McKinsey research, while companies are generally reducing spend, a sizable number are increasing or maintaining it. Almost 90% of B2B sales have moved to a video conferencing, phone, or web sales model. More than half believe that this is equally or more effective than sales models used before COVID-19. Over recent years, we've seen a massive difference globally in adoption of digital B2B sales models. China seems to have leapfrogged Europe, with 33% of B2B sales done digitally. Europe was at 3%, but I suspect that that's increased sharply this year. Forrester puts the potential for digitalization of B2B sales at over $10 trillion, and this compares to a paltry $3 trillion for B2C sales. So digital transformation is a buzzword, but it's also real. At the end of the day, the challenge we focus on solving is about transforming how businesses do business with each other. So let's take a look at how user journeys have evolved. The user journey used to be very linear, and there was a clear distinction between purchases done physically and those done digitally. In addition, there was a distinction between a marketing or brochure website and a commerce website. Drawing from the B2C world, people were convinced that e-commerce would knock out physical shops. Whilst this has certainly been true, it's a mistake to think that physical touchpoints and digital touchpoints are mutually exclusive. Just as shops still have a role to play in B2C, B2B buyers still want to build trusted relationships to support their decision-making processes. So the new normal, today the new normal for B2B buying is that there are even more digital and human touchpoints. There aren't the nicely organized silos and segments of the old world, and it's not like B2C sales where each transaction is the same. In B2B, there are complexities of different sales models with distributors and multiple sales channels to market. How can all of these be addressed? Business buyers value the one-stop shop information they can get in a self-service dealer portal and co-marketing with the vendor to drive demand generation. There can be such a large volume of communication and messaging between all of these different touch points that your message can be lost unless it personally resonates with the buyer. How can we reduce the friction in buying experiences? By breaking the silos. So it's all about building this extended buying experience from A, the very early awareness touch point, to purchase, to A, advocacy. This is really the holy grail of marketing, when the customer is so happy that they become an advocate and an extra salesperson. As you focus on education and building assets to use in account-based marketing, you need to be able to target the right asset and call to action, for example, a cross-sell or an upsell, to the right person in their buying journey. I'll hand over to Jan now to explore some of these challenges in a bit more depth.
Thanks, James. In 2017, Forrester published what has become a famous or infamous, depending on which side of the fence you're sitting, webinar titled "The Death of a B2B Salesman." Sounds like a Sun title, that. In their analysis, they predicted that by 2020, technology would have displaced about 1 million B2B salesperson or personnel. This was in the US out of an estimated 3.5 million, so nearly a third. Today we are in 2020. Well, things have definitely changed. Don't think to the extent of the gloomy picture that that Forrester painted back in 2017. It also depends where in the world you are, but it's not far from it. Basically, B2B buyers' expectations and behaviors have changed. In a recent survey published by McKinsey, they show there's been a considerable jump in the importance given by B2B customers in their ability to engage with digital channels, including, and this may surprise some of you, through mobile apps, social media, or online communities. Now, the survey results were published in April and focused particularly on the impact of COVID-19, but they've been tracking this trend since 2016, and COVID has just accelerated that, as obviously face-to-face meetings are now, let's say, just difficult and potentially dangerous. as James mentioned earlier, the B2B industry is particularly in Europe late to the e-commerce or the digitization commerce game. Today, B2B buyer, don't just want a self-service experience. They want you to get it right. So how do you get it right? Getting it right, I think, is all about a buyer's perceived experience. It's no longer about showing lists of products at the right time. It's about, well, what's the experience around that, my buying experience. And the experience has moved from, face-to-face, or over a bottle of wine in a restaurant, or a meeting, to an online experience. What they want is speed, streamlined process for discovery and transaction. They'll want, as James mentioned, they'll want to spend time researching the product through a site or a portal, without having to speak directly to the seller. And if needed, they'll ask questions, and they'll ask questions of a community around your products, whether you control that community or not. They will expect you to be fully transparent about what you can and can't do, not just in terms of the products, but also the services around those, including your ability to serve their shipping, transactional, or customization requirements. And everything you say, they will check, probably using social media like LinkedIn. And finally, they will expect immediate access to an expert. And this is the live chat capability. There's been a lot of discussions about chatbots and stuff, but this is the time when they've done their research and they'll just want someone to confirm that what they think is right, and a live chat becomes quite important. And I think that if you don't have a live chat on your site, the buyer will probably not think that you're very serious. Some would say there's convergence between B2C and B2B buyer behaviors. From a technology standpoint, that might be true, but I think that B2B buyers is likely to be a lot more demanding and will have much higher expectations than a B2C buyer. Now, when James and I put together this presentation, we argued about whether to put the rules have not really changed or the roles have not really changed. And they're probably interchangeable. B2B sales are still about consultancy, helping a buyer better understand their needs, allowing them to navigate your offering and identify potential options, explaining how product or service will fit their requirements, and finally, it's about the ability to take an order. Now, a buyer no longer wants to spend hours with a salesperson going through brochure. They want to do it on their own. The consultant role is taken over by your portal's navigation and your product metadata. The navigator role is taken over by the search functionality. The explainer role is taken over by the content that you provide to support your product's claims. And the auto-taking function is taken over the flexible transaction functionality that takes into account both the type of customers that you're dealing with. This is what we mean by the rules have not changed. But now the buyers want to do everything through a browser, or even better, through their mobile phone. So it is about content, transactions, personalization, and integration. So the question is, where would you actually start, or where do you start? When my business partner and I started Bluetel in 2005, and we implemented our first content management system, everyone used to say content is king. It was a bit of a bit of a marketing thing at the time. Today, I think that content is still king. It's through great content presented online, through a tool that allows users to quickly find what they're looking for, that a sale actually starts. Content can be a new customer acquisition tool. It can be a decision-making tool or a customer nurturing tool. So it is crucial to any online B2B commerce application. However, the right type of content has to be presented to the right kind of customer at the right time in their purchasing journey. It must be accessible from anywhere on any device. yet it must be organized in a way that will support any journey of discovery. And at any time, it should be supported by the ability for a customer to actually ask a question directly to a human being. What all this means is that content must be relevant. For many B2B businesses who have implemented one form or another of marketing automation, that content may actually already exist. However, while the goal of a marketing automation system is usually to generate leads, B2B commerce content should be able to convert that lead with a small or any sales team involvement. So the content that you have might need to be elevated to a higher degree of expertise. You must also consider how customer prefers their content, whether it's text, video, audio, or anything else. Content is also relevant when it is targeted to specific needs of a customer. Some form of personalization is expected, such as prices in the relevant currency, content in the relevant language. Beyond this, you can make personalization either explicit, i.e., make sure that the customer's told you what they're interested in, or implicit, insofar as the website will track what the visitor is doing and will present the right content to them. So for many B2B companies, content is not something new; it already exists. But it must be elevated beyond a marketing tool to becoming a selling tool. This repurposing of content is not always straightforward, but is paramount to any digital transformation project. Now, we can't speak about B2B commerce without speaking about the transactional part of it. While there may be convergence between B2B and B2C buyer expectation, when it comes to checking out, B2B is not as simple as a B2C transaction. Let's talk about products first. B2B markets cover from the simplest of products such as a rivet to complex engineering products that will require some form of customization. Some of these complex products can be priced online through a dedicated application that accepts a few inputs and is therefore able to generate a price. Others involve so many permutation and customization that they will require some form of human intervention, sometimes through an application called configured price quote mechanism. In many cases, a business will have a mixture of products, from the simplest rivet to the most complex custom widget. It's therefore likely that a B2B self-service portal will include more than one checkout journey. Let's talk about pricing. It's also not entirely uniform. Based on the customer's existing or non-existing relationship with you, they may enjoy more favorable payment terms, may require pro forma invoicing, may have different volume discounts, etc. In other words, your online application must present to a buyer the same terms they have negotiated with you when they first became a customer. In other words, both products and pricing must be personalized. For most companies, all this information, like product catalogs, customer and commercial relationship information, already exists in some form of ERP or CRM system. Here, reinventing the proverbial wheel, while possible, would be a waste of years of investment. Your own application should therefore be able to integrate with any backend system you may already have in place, supporting both its transactional aspect and, where appropriate, its content as well. So to summarize, if you're looking to turn your existing online presence into a fully fledged B2B self-service portal, the focus should be to review and, where applicable, repurpose content to support your customers, new and existing, in the purchasing journey. Use content and personalization to speed discovery by only presenting to them what's relevant. Transfer online your product catalog by integrating with any existing ERP system, and ensure that the application supports, at the very least, simple product pricing. And where possible, integrate any existing offline pricing application for more complex products. Finally, personalize the whole experience, from content to price books to specific customers, to speed the purchasing process and make it more onerous for a buyer to switch to an alternative supplier. I'd like to finish one last thought. An online application is not something that you build once and leave forever. Use the application as the basis of conversation for your customers, get feedback from them, and based on that feedback, enhance, improve your online presence. So you will eventually transform your relationship with your customers from a supplier-customer relationship to one of true partnership with a common purpose.
Great, thanks very much, Jan. So I'll go to questions in a moment if we've got any. But just whilst we're doing that, just like to say thank you everybody for your time today. And you know, feel free to get in touch with us. Jan's email is there, and my email is there on the page. Right, let's have a look to see if we've got any questions. I'll just. Okay, so we've got one here, Jan. Do you think digital transformation is a buzzword? Maybe you want to take that one.
Yes, I do. Is it a buzzword? I think it's being used in so many different contexts as to mean, it can mean just about everything. So it is a buzzword, but it's, you know, it's a buzzword that's used, you know, in a company by IT departments to sort of sell their, you know, their vision to the board. It's used by us, you know, agencies to try and sell our services. You know, you know, someone can argue that the first time you sent an email, well, you just went through digital transformation. You know, today, you know, if you listen to the big, you know, the big consultancies or the big research firms, Forresters, McKinsey, etc., digital transformation, you know, usually refers to, you know, putting in place, you know, sometimes quite expensive, but you know, systems, you know, to really move a business from doing things, you know, from analog to digital, or in fact from digital to digital. An example would be, you know, until recently, a lot of companies where, you know, had their servers either in-house or in a data center. And digital transformation is moving them all to, you know, to the cloud, for example. Digital transformation can be so many things. It is a buzzword, but it means many things to different people.
Yeah, I mean, I guess probably the main thing is that in the old days you might have been moving from analog to digital, but now it's always, you know, replacing some digital stack and going to another one. Thank you for that question. And so I can have a look here. I can't see any other questions. So I think what we'll do now is we'll just say, you know, we look forward to conversations with you. You know, if you'd like to explore and discover, you know, the challenges that that you have with us, we'd be delighted to do that. And just once again, thank you to Jan for joining me this morning or this afternoon, and then thank you everybody for your time. So. That concludes today's webinar.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.